bottom of the Smash Mountain. This is the first episode of season 4, the new intro, the new overlay interview graphics. Shout outs to Shegbot for making them, by the way. And the very first guest of the new season, I would like to give big welcome to Aero of Aero Arena fame, of the Young Link mid-tier hero fame, who is wrecking West Coast brackets like TNT and making, of course, the hosting the Aero Arena on twitch.tv/Aero_SSBM. Aero, thank you so much for joining me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for quite the resume you were able to procure there from only a short time in this online sphere. I appreciate that. No, I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking.
Before I get too lost in the sauce, because I'm super excited about doing a new season. We've done season 3 for 60 or so episodes. It's been a little while, so I'm definitely happy to be in this new spot where I go, hey, look, new season, new stuff. This is cool. So I want to give a shout outs to all the subs at my patreon.com/bsmpod. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for continuing to help make sure this podcast is able to keep going. Not that I'm holding any of y'all hostage or anything, but I would like to especially give shout outs to my senior producer, Ventus Official. Thank you for your support. Another Matt, by the way, Aero. So I was about to say thanks, Matt, and I didn't want you to get super confused. But then also my parents, also senior producers. So shout outs to mom and dad. Love you all. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, Aero, the first question for you, other than how you doing, all that fun stuff, is I love getting into the origin story of stuff. I think it really helps me in terms of getting to know you right away, because I'll be honest, I made sure to look at your Twitter bio. I did a little bit of scrolling, but I didn't have a chance to watch any of your streams recently, so I know that you like to put up mad clips onto your Twitch when you're able to on your streams of entering tournaments, and you enter tournaments on a very regular basis, but you don't start with that right away. You don't just say, I'll start playing Melee and I'll start streaming 3+ brackets a week plus my own Aero Arena. So how did you first get started with Melee?
Yeah, for sure. So I originally started in 2017 is when I kind of first jumped into the Melee community. I mean, classic story of I have an older brother and older sister who are like 5.5 and 6.5 years older than me, so I'm the baby accident of the family. But we all grew up playing Melee, and that was our favorite game to play together. Is we would all play Melee growing up. So it definitely had this huge nostalgic component for me. And I was a Bowser main in my young days because I thought it was so cool how you're always playing as Mario in this other game, but you can actually play as the bad guys in this game. I don't know why. I always tended to pick the evil characters in games growing up.
Bowser, my first main in Melee, so let's go.
It's a good one. I love that. But it was just so unique, such a unique game. And I think that really, even when I left it for other games growing up and then eventually came back to it, I think it always had a little bit of a uniqueness to it that I didn't really find in other games. And so then in 2017, I was on YouTube just doing the YouTube rabbit trail as you do at 1 a.m. in high school. And I stumbled across Evo 2016 VODs. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I love this game. I play Samus or Young Link or Bowser, and I just go across and I use the but the C stick is cheating, so we don't use the C stick. Just the really, really old school bad mentality of things. But the new perspective of, oh my god, wait, Fox can shoot that many lasers that fast?
Yes.
Wait, what? You're pressing, what is that move? There's DLC in this game that Jigglypuff is using. How they just hit the Fox player, and then the guy is crying because Jigglypuff got a kill at 20% or something. And there's just all this stuff going on, and it's so exciting. And you have no idea that this game that you held dear as a kid would just catapult into this whole thing that it's become. And so the Evo 2016 is actually, I was an Evo kid, but not like an Evo 2013 dot kid. I was kind of a later Evo kid. So that was kind of how I got into it. Is I was inspired by that. I whipped out the the normal TV with the GameCube plugged straight into it after, and picked Falcon and just started playing. And then finally I learned that you need a CRT and that you need all this different stuff, and it was a slippery slope after that.
You're looking up all these things, and by now in 2016, 2017, all these resources are readily available. We haven't quite 100% modernized things, but we're getting there. We're getting there. And I love hearing that such a big event like Evo, where a lot of people put stock and value into the fact that grand finals reached 250,000 viewers. I think that was one of the, if not most viewed grand finals of all time live on Twitch. It was massive. And it's really cool that there was somebody out there, in this case you, Aero, who was actually watching it, and you knew what Smash was because you grew up playing it, but you said there's more to this game, and actually this is pretty fun to watch. This is inspiring me to play right away, which is always great. That's how you know it's a sign of a good time. So I'm interested in hearing about that particular age. How was it actually getting to where you needed to go in order to find resources? Because for me, in late 2018, 2019, I would just go on Twitter and I'd hear about stuff. And then eventually I got into Discord a year or so later, and I heard about stuff there. So that was how and of course YouTube. So those three were my three big ones. But if I'm thinking correctly, and I was not around as much at this point, Facebook was still sort of a thing, but starting to switch over to Discord. Twitter was king, and Reddit was a whole thing that I did not get into until last year. So I'm sure Reddit was a thing as well. But where would you go to actually seek out the knowledge, the wisdom, and CRT TVs?
Yeah, so well, the CRT was Craigslist, a classic, of course. It was actually it was my Christmas present that year, and my because we had a tiny one, but it was so small, and it was really hard to be able to see the characters because it was just such a small CRT. So I got a big one, and it was my Christmas present, but it was actually super broken, and it was like all just dust inside. Like it was bad. And it was my Christmas present from my mom, and she felt terrible. So later, it was like the 26th or something. I think I was 17 at the time, but I was still at that point sleeping in until like 11 a.m.
Yes, of course, glorious.
Definitely don't do that anymore, but it was a nice time to be able to do that. And so like before I woke up, they went out and got a new one and switched them out. And so that's the CRT that I still practice on sometimes before like SoCal locals. That's that CRT. And so that one was easy to find, but was not easy to find were the resources back then. I mean, the first thing that came up when I started looking up Smash stuff for Melee was Smash boards. And so I found, for the old school or people back there, people that know about this stuff, I found the PPMD Ask Me Anything just trail of forums. I found there's this guy made a whole movement thing on every single character, like ranking them by movement. I found Taj, the Mewtwo main from Arizona. I found his stuff on there. I was just like finding all this old school information on Smash boards, and that was where I was getting all of my info, even in 2017, which is kind of insane.
That's awesome, though. I just picture Smash boards as dying unofficially in 2013 and slowly going down in usage. But then you hear about Kadoran. I think any chance Kadoran gets the opportunity to talk about PPMD and interacting with PPMD on Smash boards, even in more recent times, Kadoran will make sure that the people know PPMD is still low-key kind of active on Smash board, just low-key, very low-key.
Yeah, no, if you go out there, for the real ones here, that we can share it here because there are not too many abundance of people will hear it, that he is still will definitely answer your questions on there every once in a while. Not as much as he used to, but it is definitely still active. So that's the secret sauce right there.
That's awesome. Shout outs to some of your what do you call your subs, or do you have a name for your subs, by the way?
So it started off only being ironic, but as all good ironies do, it has been adopted as official. We are the Quiver.
Shout outs to the Quiver.
there's like Zuber and Spartan, definitely two big regulars. What's up, you guys? From the Quiver in here. You love to see it.
Yes, that's one of the fun parts. I even forgot to say this. We're starting to do these interviews on a more regular basis on Twitch because of my new setup. So this is great. This is super cool. Now, we haven't gotten to the part where you play Young Link yet, and you main Young Link, but how do you even get there if you're going on places like Smashboards? Because those threads, although existent, I'm sure, are not necessarily saying, yes, Young Link is the way to go. Please tell me that you have an origin story with Legend of Zelda as well, because I love that series. I haven't played every single game, okay? So maybe I don't love it as much as some of the people in chat. You probably love it more than I do, but I do love Legend of Zelda, and I'm interested to hear where that eventually crosses over. I love thinking of Aklo, who loves Zelda, is like his favorite game, and he happens to be really good at Melee, and he happens to be really good at playing as Link in Melee. But I was just curious, what's it like for you, Aero?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. There used to be a big gatekeeping community of, if you didn't like the games, you can't play the character. Like, there was such a gatekeeping aspect back in the day that is just not around anymore, because no one cares anymore, as they shouldn't, because it's like, why gatekeep a nerdy niche genre? But no, I've always been a big Nintendo gamer. I mean, now I know better that Nintendo is not the best company, but we won't delve too much into that while we're talking about this here. I was a big Nintendo gamer though growing up, and so Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask out of my mind. I actually used to do competitive Pokemon battling too, so I tried out a lot of the Pokemon first. A lot of people in my stream know that my Mewtwo is probably my second best character. And so I played a lot of Pokemon, and way too much Pokemon. And yeah, Wind Waker was in there. Yes. No, Wind Waker probably not one of my more played ones, but definitely Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are the top two. And I was really into watching speedruns of the game and tried to speedrun it for a little bit, but I decided on Melee instead.
Okay, so I am actually playing through Majora's Mask with the HD texture pack from Narrowll at the moment. So how much have you heard about that?
I am not an HD texture pack kind of guy. I know of Primal, that because they reached out to me for the Young Link feature when they were
Primal
doing
shout outs. Yeah,
exactly. Big shout outs to them, doing some sick stuff, amazing combo videos. They left out one of my favorite clips I've ever gotten, but that's okay. That's okay.
No. They don't appreciate these double dares. That's so unfortunate. Or was it the up B spike on Randall against that fox?
No, that one was pretty good. They did put my second favorite one I've ever gotten, which was there was a Falco up being below battlefield that I got this like 50% combo to get him off stage, and then I down aired him and traded with the up B, and it sent us both flying straight up, and then I up aired him off the top and it killed. And I was so happy because it looked so weird. But my favorite one I ever got was it was a stage spike, but basically from 0 against a Marth, from one grab, I got him from 0 to 80 from an onstage combo into a boomerang juggle, like call out kind of thing. And I got him off stage, and then he tried to recover. This was on Yoshi's. He tried to recover, and I scar jump back aired into Nair, and then wave landed back onto Randall, and then jumped up and fire spiked him. And it was one of my favorites because of just how like long and drawn out it was. I love long drawn out combos.
Yes, and when you mix in a couple of reads as well, because true combos are really cool, obviously. But when you have long drawn out, you have a couple of reads in there where you go, you're watching these kind of clips and you're just going, wow, this person like owns this guy. Like, there's this mind reader. The book is wide open right now. Can't escape. You can't escape. It feels like watching Nun when Nun is playing at his peak, that kind of thing. Because it feels like Nun is like the ultimate read master when he gets into the right spot against the right opponent.
Oh, for sure. No, it's I actually am more of a fan of combos when they're like an actually guaranteed combo, but it's still really cool. I feel like that's even harder than getting like big reads. I mean, I'm still impressed by reads, especially by pro players on other pro players. But if it's just like, oh, I thought you were gonna tech to the right, so I stomped over there, then I'm like, whatever. But I love things that are like guaranteed, but are still really cool to watch. That's my kind of cup of tea there.
So with Young Link, I feel like there's not a lot of super true combos except for certain percents on all the casts, and then you obviously have your fast fallers. So what's that like for you when you look around you and you see people like Squid the Cat just casually falcon punching into a falcon punch? Not that that is super realistically to do in terms of a tournament set match, okay, but some of these combos that I see people do, some of the stuff that Justice does, shout outs to Justice out in Justice XYZ, who I'm referring to, making the Friends combo video. Yeah, like these players get crazy, super awesome combos, but they're also playing high tier characters, and you have Young Link. So tell me what you love looking for and what you love hitting that are some of the guaranteed combos with Young Link.
So that's one of the big misconceptions, because most people who and I'm not calling you out specifically, but
please call me out. I want to be educated.
I'm calling Jesse out specifically.
Here we go.
Or Cypher out specifically because he got this wrong. But everyone thinks Young Link doesn't have combos. But you look at my openings per kill, and they're on par with all the top tiers I'm playing against, or even better sometimes, because I'm a big punish game kind of guy. I really love practicing punish game. And Young Link has some absolutely nasty zero to deaths, and he has a lot of like 30% to deaths. He only has a few like actual zero to deaths, but if you can get someone to 30%, you can kill them off of like most good openings with Young Link. There's absolutely no holding back at that percent. I mean, because you gotta basically at that percent, you start getting knockdowns with Nair, the second hit of back air, and up air. And fair as well. I'll start knocking down around 30 or so on most characters. And so that's when it really starts to open up, because he's a big tech chase character. He's kind of like Sheik in that way, where you really have to get good at tech chasing, because if you're not, you're going to miss a lot of stuff and have to do a lot more neutral openings, which is where you see the other Young Link play, where I'm not a big fan of the Young Link play where people just run away and hit a bomb for 12%. And then they run away to get another bomb, and they just keep rinse repeating that. That's not really my style. I want to get that bomb so I can use it to get an even bigger opening to get that kill instead, in that way, if that makes sense.
I'm following along a little bit, and I appreciate the education and the call out, because when I see Young Link play, usually I see it from Axe or maybe like the accidental none footage occasionally on the GG Melee YouTube channel. Shout outs to them. And I feel like I'm not seeing a whole lot, so it's probably because, in particular for None, not usually the biggest Young Link main ever, even if Young Link was one of the first characters he fell in love with Melee. Some people don't know this. None really loved Young Link for a hot minute there before playing more Falcon. And Axe, of course, Young Link is one of his bona fide secondary characters, but when you're playing against a Mango, how easy is it to get combos in a tournament match? At a high level tournament match. So I feel like I don't see as much of the, oh, got this, tech chase into that, down air kind of a thing. So that's why my perception is where it is. And I appreciate you telling me that there is more to the character. I think that if you and other people who are pushing Young Link are continuing to be able to do stuff where the more you play, the better you get. I love seeing things, for example, I love seeing things like the Mewtwo clip I saw recently where somebody was practicing teeter cancel, ledge cancel attacks and follow-ups with Mewtwo's
oh my God, yeah.
And I go, I don't know how possible it is. I don't know how possible it is to do that IRL and on a regular basis in tournament, but if a couple of years go by and I start to see it, that's going to be super awesome for Melee, because that means there's a nasty Mewtwo out there who's ready to destroy a Spacey's bracket, and that's always fun. I love Spacey players, but when you get tripped up by a secondary matchup kind of thing that you don't know, well, that's too bad for you, isn't it? So then, So I'm just interested in hearing from you. what you think would be the fastest way or the best way to continue to push the Young Link meta, where the perception is Young Link actually does have the sauce.
Yeah, no, shout outs to the Mewtwo Oliver Wilcox, at Not the Real One with a 0. Dude, that guy is living some of my dreams in Melee I had before. Like I said, my Mewtwo is one of my better characters because
yes,
I used to believe in Mewtwo like I believe in Young Link, and I still do. But I just realized that was a life I was not ready to put that much effort into, and I also didn't want to have to buy a box because I'm pretty sure a box unlocks Mewtwo to a whole new degree, or notches. I mean, you can do a lot of the teleport stuff, cancel stuff with notches too, but it's way easier on a box, and that guy is doing insane stuff. I mean, Mewtwo's have done it for a long time, like Zoma from Japan is a really sick Mewtwo player. If you guys haven't seen Zoma gameplay before, go look up Zoma after the stream, of course. He's so sick, man. Zoma, I mean, he's beaten Cactuar, he's beaten like all your favorite Japanese players if you guys are into Japanese Melee at all. I love that guy. He's so sick at the game. But yeah, basically with Young Link, he is the biggest way he's going to be pushed is definitely the tech chase game and the bomb openings game. So a lot of Young Links, including myself, used to just get bomb into forward air or bomb nair. There's the infamous bomb dare kill option on Jigglypuff and floaties. It does work at on fast fallers as well. Basically how Young Link's dare works is this the early hit of it is weaker, but it's harder to DI. There's like a lot of weird hitbox shenanigans where it's really weird to DI sometimes. So sometimes it just sends you straight up and you just can't DI it in time. And other times it sends you barely anywhere at like 120 and it doesn't kill you at that percent. And then you have that was the early one. You have the late dare, which the late hitbox hits up, but you can DI it much more easily, but it's much stronger, so it's a way more guaranteed, consistent kill option. And so being able to work, and Young Link has a number of hitboxes, being able to work these together is kind of difficult, but at the same time, it's super possible. Down throw reaction tech chasing is really possible with him. And a lot of Young Links give me a lot of flack for this because they tell me I'm wrong. But I have thousands and thousands of successful reaction tech in place with Young Link attempts that are successful that prove them wrong. So get called out, Young Link Discord. No, I absolutely love the Young Link Discord, but sometimes people are a little bit too much of quitters with certain things in the character, and they think, even including myself, I'm a big up B hater with Young Link. I think that move is garbage, and I think it's a meme for sure. I think it might be one of his worst moves other than forward throw and back throw, because those just don't do anything.
Yes.
But there's other Young Links that think that move's sick and they go for bomb cancel up Bs, and there are a lot of Young Links who are much cooler than I am. I like to focus on what hits hard and what's going to get me wins in a tournament.
Yes.
So that's why I work on like reaction tech chasing instead.
And that makes sense. So I'm thinking about how Young Link has another persona in my mind, where in Smash Remix, which is a mod of Super Smash Bros. 64, they put Young Link into the game, and the up B in that game is very hard to smash DI out of, and that's your only option to escape the consistent small hits into the finisher hit on the up B anyway. You have to smash DI out. It's not like you can do normal directional input to survive the last hit afterwards in that game specifically. The up B feels super broken. And so when I go back to Melee and I go, well, can I transfer any of this back over to Melee? And I do the same thing with Marth. I'll play Marth in Smash Remix. I'll go, wow, I'm great with Marth. And then I'll play Melee Marth and I'll go, I'm not great with Melee Marth. And the same thing with Young Link. And it makes me wish ever so slightly for there to be more of a real move set for Young Link to have in Melee. But I'm sure for you and the people in the Young Link Discord, some of them are wishers for quote unquote patch, if you will, or the patch culture type stuff. And then others are steadfast in saying, you play the melee the way that God intended kind of thing, except for Slippy. We always play Slippy. But other than that, you play melee the way God intended. And Young
What do you mean? That's all vanilla melee. I burned the disc. Well, we all did. We all burned the disc legally.
Of course. No, I wasn't saying that. I was saying there was no online thoughts when Sakurai originally and the team originally made Melee. They weren't thinking, yes, let's make sure that we do the coding in such a way as to allow for it to be put onto Dolphin emulator someday. That's what I was referring to specifically. Okay. Shout out to Fizzy. So you have projected yourself tonight as someone who's steadfastly a Young Link believer. Of course, you main the character, but I'm talking about someone who believes in the character despite tournament results, despite the setbacks that you may have to overcome, or that are very challenging obstacles where you are not necessarily being better playered in tournament. You might perceive yourself as being better charactered, and I'm curious how you deal with that when you have a disappointing tournament performance.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not one of the people who's a wisher that there would be a patch. I am very aware that there are no patches in Melee. And so sometimes in my mind, I'm like, God, if only he had the Link up B. But then I just remember you can just OMS attack it and sweet spot around it. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm just gonna not ever think about the things that he could have and work with what he does have. So that's what I focus on, is what does Young Link have and why is he a high tier when he has a bomb in his hand? And that's the difference. But as far as tournament results and being out-charactered versus out-playered, I do not believe I have gotten to the level anywhere close to the level yet where I have been out-charactered by anyone. I think people have used things that are good against me because their character can do that, like Fox lasers and circle camping with Fox. I've definitely have gotten circle camp by Fox a lot of times, and I have to figure out ways around it. But the way that they're doing it, and when I analyze it back, I love watching my matches back because it just helps me to think through everything and see that it was entirely my fault and that I need to be able to come up with ways to get around that stuff. And I look at these VODs and I realize, oh my God, I'm not being unpredictable at all in these scenarios. If he's lasering right here, I can jump here, pull a bomb, and then I'm in a much better situation because I can cover multiple options at a time. My boomerang throws are too late and they're not proactive, they're more reactive, which boomerang is too slow to be reactive. And just all these little examples that I find of little ways in which I am just not using the character how he should be used in that way. So I don't think I've been out charactered yet. I mean, if I get to where I'm a skill level of top 30 in the world with solo Young Link, then maybe at that point I am being out charactered, but I don't even know what that looks like yet. No one does, because we haven't seen a Young Link who's top 30 in the world yet. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But I think he's going to be able, from what I've seen with Young Link and my labbing I've done and my analysis and play I've done, I don't think I'm going to get to that point for a very long time.
So are you aiming for top 30, or what is your temporary goal, or what's the long game goal? You can talk about both or either, whichever you want.
Yeah, no, so I mean, everyone wants to be the best in the world when they're playing this game, right? But my short-term goal is I really want to get on the SoCal PR and top 100, because I mean, this basically there's the same thing, because if you're on the SoCal PR, you're top 100.
Yeah.
It's so insanely stacked. A lot of the times I joke with people that I pick the absolute worst region in the whole world to play in, because I'm playing Young Link in a local area where I think there was a month and a half straight where I didn't play a single floaty bracket, and that is Young Link's bread and butter. But I see it as only an opportunity. That I see it as, if I'm only playing against Fox and Falcon, who are, in my opinion, Young Link's two worst matchups, and then Falco and Sheik and just all these characters that are Young Link's four worst matchups, in my opinion, I think if I get really, really good at those, then when I go and play the other matchups, they're gonna seem like a breeze. Like, oh wait, this is this is what a pretty good matchup actually feels like when I go play against Jigglypuff or Peach or Marth is not even that bad for Young Link. All these characters that I are much easier to do. So I think I'm on a great track to really improve by playing only my hardest matchups. So that way, when I get on the SoCal PR, I know it wasn't because of bracket luck. I know it wasn't because of like there's no doubt in my mind it was because you're eventually going to run into 5 Foxes in a row or 5 fast followers of assorted types in a row, trying to get to that grand finals to face Fiction or Kadorn or S2J. And you just got to be able to get through it. And so that is my current goal, is to get on the SoCal PR top 100. Same thing in my mind. And because there has never been a solo Young Link main who's been able to do that. And so I think that would be a really sick goal. I would love to accomplish that. And that's kind of what I'm not playing for the results. Honestly, I don't even think about it that much. I mainly just think about my wins, my losses, and my improvement. And but if I have to pick a goal, then that is definitely the goal right now.
And you were saying how you don't feel like you'll get there for a really long time, but you're talking about playing a lot, and you're talking about VOD analysis, and I guess other than maybe having a coach, I guess, it feels like you're doing just about everything you can to be able to continually chip away at this. But I guess you're feeling comfortable about this is a long-term thing. If I ever get to the point where I'm going to become SoCal ranked and top 100 ranked, it doesn't happen tomorrow. It just happens because I keep chipping away at it. Is that your mentality?
Yeah, well, okay, so I said a very long time for top 30, because top 30 is very, very different of a world than top 100. Because sometimes they mean well, but sometimes I have viewers in my chat that I'll get a good win. Like I don't know if you know who Cliche is. He's a San Diego ranked Falco, very good SoCal player who's a Falco player. I just 3-0'd him at my tournament on Thursday the other day. So it was online, so say what you will. I think online counts, but you got to take your L's as well as your losses your L's as well as your if you're going to count online. But I did really well there, and then one of my viewers went ahead and chatted and said, okay, I think you're getting so many good wins now that you're probably top 100 at this level. And I was like, dude, no, I am very aware of how far I am from top 100, because top 100 used to be a lot easier to get into. I mean, the resources weren't there, but also there's so many more resources now that everyone has, where back in the day, if you were a SoCal player, you had better resources than almost everyone in the world for getting better at Melee, because you could actually play against these top 30 in the world players. Whereas someone from a state where there's not really any Melee players, then they don't have that same opportunity. Whereas now everyone, the board's been cleared, been evened out. And so I know how many good Melee players there are today, and I probably even underestimate it at that point even still. And so I know that it is, you have to consistently get top level wins to be top 100. You have to be winning events. You have to be getting top 64, top 32 at majors consistently. So I know that is a little bit of a ways away. I think I could do it within the next few years or so, probably like 1 to 2 years, hopefully, is the current goal. But top 30 is a whole nother beast. You have to be winning tournaments. You have to not really be dropping any sets to players other than other top 30 players. It's a hard world out there.
Yes, if you want to be a great Melee player, and if you want to be a great Young Link player, either one, both. So I'm curious about how you feel your major attendance is going for this year so far, because of course you enter a lot of locals and you go through to a lot of online tournaments, especially the region locked ones on the West Coast. So I'm curious about majors. That is a pretty big component about the top 100 question. It seems as if there's value in how you perform at a major, like you said, placing top 64, placing top 32, and it's something like Genesis or Shine or something on the West Coast, or Double Down, which is coming up this weekend, that kind of stuff.
I'm going to that one.
Well, talk to me about Double Down.
So that is actually, I'll answer both questions in one answer. That Double Down is going to be my first major since 2017 that I've gone to.
What?
My first ever tournament was I don't know if you'll know the name of this one. Not too soon, but it was called Red Bull Smash Gods and Gatekeepers. And that was my first ever major that I ever went to, and it was also my first ever tournament. Hadn't gone to any locals, any regionals before that. And it was a Red Bull event that they put on here in SoCal, and lots of top players went. I met Axe there, got my little subscriber wristband there, because of course Axe sub. And
that's awesome.
I got kicked off a TV by Mewtwo King, Plup, and Westballs. That was funny.
Yep.
And I talked to Hugs for a little bit there. Just like the first major experience where you're meeting all these people, you're like, oh my God, they're actual people. I've only seen them on YouTube before. And it's like the funny way of where you almost like make these people into celebrities, and then you go to the major and you get to meet them, and it's like this whole experience. And then I really, the only other tournaments I went to that were close were back when there were the Mangoes. The Mango tournaments where there's, I think just the Mango, and then there was the Mango Homecoming, I think, afterwards. And I don't think many people counted those as majors, because even though there were a lot of good players there, most of them were either sandbagging or drinking at the same time. So it's not sure how you talk about that one. But no, I have not been to a major in a long time. So I'm very excited to start getting my placings back out there again, because like you said, there is value in going to majors for top 100, because that's literally pretty much the only thing that matters is how you do at majors. If you follow any of these guys who have ballots, guys, girls, all the people who have ballots for the MPGR coming up and finally getting a new ranking coming out here, you'll see that they really only talk about majors and the wins and losses you get at majors. So that's pretty much all that counts. Sometimes they use regionals and locals, maybe if you don't have a lot of results, but you got to get the major results. So if I want to get that goal of top 100, I got to start attending here.
And the first one being Double Down. So I'm very excited to hear about this, because I'm not going to Double Down, but it's in Las Vegas. This is the first time Melee has been back in a big way in Las Vegas since EVO 2018, as far as I'm aware. So this is a lot of fun stuff for everybody who's going to be attending the event. So you probably feel a little bit of pressure, but if your mentality, which you've said you try not to concentrate too hard on the wins and losses as they're happening, because that can be a whole thing. I'm curious about what you think your best strategy is for being able to perform well in bracket. Is it complaining to the seeder about your pools? Is it going to be trying to find these people on Slippy, either misconnections, or see if they have a YouTube channel or a Twitch and like do VOD study and analysis? Or are you going to try and just go in blind? I'm curious about how you, someone who's going to see a variety of opponents, hopefully the ones that you're projected to play in bracket and all that, but you're going to see people that you don't see every week at locals. So how do you prepare for something like that? How are you preparing for that?
Yeah, so I, truth be told, last night I had a less than stellar performance at TMT, because I used to stream every weekday for about 7 hours just practicing, and I was going super hard on Melee for a long time, just full-time Melee. And but the last month and a half, I really haven't solo practiced at all. I've pretty much only played in tournaments, because I have been working on job stuff and coding stuff, and I just like a few other, I mean, it's also been just a very busy summer as far as like family things go. And so I really haven't practiced that much in the summer so far. And so today I did a bunch of solo practice this morning. Not a bunch, I did like an hour, but that was an hour more than I've been doing the last like month and a half. And so I wasn't feeling practice at all, did not do very well yesterday, because I could just feel my game plans were there, my mentality was there for the most part, and everything like mental wise and my thinking, I was adapting pretty well, but my execution was so bad compared to how it used to be. There's all sorts of little tiny windows and frame perfect and 2 frame perfect things that Younglink can do that I get pretty constantly without messing them up ever. And last night I was just messing so many things up, and I was like, man, this does not feel like how I should be at the game. Like this does not feel good. So I've added a little, even if it's just a little bit, I've added a little bit of practice back onto my morning schedules, thankfully. And I am not quite sure how to prepare for this one specifically because I I have the Yoshi pool. And
Wait,
when
what?
I say Yoshi pool, I mean, so basically I have a bye first round. So I'm in winners round 2 for free. And I play the winner of Sass-chan and Dren. I don't think I know either of those players, but Dren is a Yoshi main. And if they beat Sass-chan, then I play a Yoshi and winners. And then I play winners quarterfinals, most likely Eggy, who is a great West Coast Yoshi main.
Uh-oh.
And if I can somehow beat Eggy, because he's a really, really good Yoshi, he's a very good player, and I really don't have any Yoshi experience. But if I can beat Eggy, then I play most likely Nesmod God.
No, what?
So I literally have 3 Yoshis in a row from winner's side if everything goes to seeding, and if I can make an upset against
At Yoshi practice, yo practice, at Yoshi, yo practice.
No, seriously, I really need to get on the Yoshi train. And I'm leaving Friday morning, and shout outs to Spartan in the chat right now. He's actually housing me for free because he's a legend.
What a homie.
Yeah, dude, that guy, I love that man. Also, Catch is here. I love Catch too. Big stream supporters of the Quiver here. But he's housing me, so he's the reason I'm able to go to Double Down, because I wouldn't be able to afford like a hotel or anything. And so I really appreciate him doing that. And so I play a lot with him and other people, but man, I got to get on this Yoshi practice and before Friday morning when I'm leaving with my carpool.
That's just so unfortunate that you get to play 3. Did you raise some slight? I have concerns. Wheat?
I think I must have pissed someone off at some point.
They thought, well, we don't want to give Aero an all spacey bracket because that'd be kind of mean. Has to do that all the time in SoCal. How do we fix this? Oh, I know, Yoshi.
And because it's not because if it was Retribution, it would be like Puff, Peach, Puff, Marth, Puff, or something. I had a different bracket earlier in the week where I was gonna have to fight a few Mars to get to top 64, and I don't lose to many Mars. There are very few Mars on the West Coast that beat me anymore, and even then I go pretty even with a lot of them.
Nice.
And so
nice.
I was feeling really good. Thank you. I was feeling really good about my odds actually to be able to make top 64 winners side, which would be insane. That would not many solo younglings have gotten to top 64. And I think this is a major, right? This is quantified as a major?
Yeah, I'm calling it a major. Hey, there's a whole meme about whether or not stuff is majors in 2022, but I mean, I think by the time you get to top 8, it'll be mostly comprised of top 10 players, which means it's a major or a super major even.
I mean, you have Zane, HBox. I don't think J-Mook's going to this one.
No, and it's heartbreaking, but
incorrectly.
When you have Zane, Mango, Hungrybox, and I want to say no, is Leffen not going because of COVID? I think Leffen might still be dealing with COVID. Or an Axe too. Poor Axe. By the way, that was really unfortunate. Axe had to miss Gommel this past weekend.
Oh, that was so sad. I was really looking forward to the run because we just haven't had a good Axe run in a while, man. And that's as a big fan, it is pretty sad to see that. But he'll be back. I know. Yeah, it looks like IBD, Doran, Moki, HBox, Mango's there, Amsa, another Yoshi. Maybe
potentially.
Maybe I could fight Amsa at some point. That would be. Oh wait, if I can somehow make winners side top 64, make all the Yoshi upsets, I would. Oh, never mind. Okay, no, I would not be fighting Amsa if I made it that far. Okay, that works out. That's funny.
So that's a major then. Maybe it's not a super major. Oh, what about Wizzy? Do we know if Wizzy's going to be going to this tournament? Because I think Wizzy was supposed to go to Gommel, but then had to drop out. So that would be cool to see as well, because we haven't seen Wizzy perform at an offline tournament yet, at an IRL this year. But that is going to be a major. Okay, there are enough top players. It's going to be a major, and I for me, watching J-Mook reverse 3-0 Zane two times. I can't believe it happened 2 times at Gommel. I'm so sad that J-Mook's not going to go to Double Down, but
Yeah.
I am very interested to see how Zane responds, because I am a bit of a Zane fan, but I think I'm caught up in the sauce of saying we should have Zane go on like an all-time run and become one of those top 5, top 10 players of all time, where there's the year of Zane. But so far, it's also been really interesting because people like Leffen, Hungrybox, and IBDW have stepped up to the plate, so shout outs. Meanwhile, for you, this is your first big major in a long time, so if you can make all these upsets with the Yoshis and the such, pop off a little bit here and there, that'd be so cool. And then if it's not necessarily that, and you go 2-2 or something that you feel super down about, you're still going to be in Las Vegas. So what other plans do you have for the weekend, or are you trying to concentrate on the bracket?
Other plans for the weekend. Let's see. As far as I'll touch on the first part first. As far as results go, I am not in my mind. I am not putting myself as like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make the upset against Aggie. I'm gonna make the upset against Nez. Those guys are insanely good. I have taken Nez. He used to be SoCal, and back when I was an Adult Link main, Nez and I actually had a game 3. Last hit, last stock set. And then he goes on to get so much better after that, and to get like top 8 at what was it? It wasn't CEO. It was
Low Tide City.
Pipsqueak. Yeah, Low Tide City. Thank you.
Yep, you're good.
I'm so used to. Do you know SF? Oh yeah, you've interviewed SF.
I have interviewed SF. Oh, I freaking love SF. Shout out to SF.
I'm a huge SF fan. He and I hang out. The most amazing friendlies at every single Verdugo and SoCal local. I'm awesome. So used to being at SoCal and just looking to my right and just being able to ask SF about any set, any history, and he's right there with the answer. So thanks for carrying me just like he does.
I'm trying to be knowledgeable. If I do so many Melee podcasts, I should try to remember some of this stuff, but I'm not as much of a Melee statistician as SF is. I depend on Melee stats as well.
Yeah, no, they do some amazing work over there. I love that how in depth they love to go, and we definitely need it this year with how close everything is. I mean, you look at J-Mook's sets against everyone, and he has so many wins against Zane, but then Zane really is only losing to like Leffen and J-Mook right now, and then Leffen won.
Battle BC 4.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Battle BC 4 recently. And then HBox just won a major, and Mango, is he top 10 still? But he was like number 1 not too long ago. Slippy Kids getting their first Mango is washed in air quotes experience. Welcome to the suffering, and also love once he gets his major win again of being a Mango fan. You
have to be in it for the long haul, because that's the fun part about being a Mango fan. You never know when he can turn it on, but when it happens, it is glorious.
Exactly. But yeah, as far as I totally went on the trail there of this tournament, I'm not worried about it either way it goes. I could go 0-2 at this tournament, and you know what? It's my first major in 5 years now, and I'm just out of practice as far as majors go. I go to a lot of locals, a lot of online tournaments, but I just haven't had major experience, so I'm going to have fun, try my best. If I get the upsets, amazing. If not, then I'm also going to Wave Dash in San Diego in August. I'm going to Main Stage in November. They finally have SoCal majors for a region that was so strong for so long. We finally have our own majors that I'm so excited about, and so I get to go to those ones, thankfully. And so I'm feeling good about it. Either way, I'm feeling very good about it with as far as results go.
And what big plans for the weekend otherwise? Yes.
That is up to Spartan. I am not aware as to what our current plans are. I mean, I know a lot of Melee's gonna. Spartan, he's a Falcon main. We really love playing Young Link Falcon, and we've had some classics before. He's definitely a very good player. that people are going to know eventually, for sure. I don't know if it'll be this tournament, because it's his, as he said in the chat, it's his first major ever
major. That's awesome. Let's go, Spartan.
It's gonna be super fun. Yeah, no, that's super sick. So I'm excited for him to try that out there. But he is a guy that can make upsets if someone's playing a little off. So I'm excited to see him play, watch him play. He might get to play against Amsa, speaking of Yoshi.
Okay.
So our housing for that weekend is just going to be Yoshi practice out of their mind, hopefully. Oh, so I'm excited for that. And but yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, Vegas, it's actually my first time I've ever been to Vegas. I have never been to Vegas before, even though I live only like a 6-hour drive from it in Anaheim here. So I just have never been before. That was never my family's destination place, but I'm really excited, man. I've done a little bit of research on, like, this is such a nerdy thing to say you research poker before you go to Vegas.
No, it's not a nerd thing. It's a self-protection thing, because if you just go in, you go, oh, these cards are so shiny, and the people at the table lean in and go, oh yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's funny, my Discord the past couple days has probably said that I'm like on Poker Stars or something, but I've been doing a little bit of playing just to make sure that if we go and do a little bit of gambling, that I will not be taken for a fool there. I know you don't play a 2-7. I know that that pocket aces are good, but don't go all in before the flop. Like I've learned a little bit of stuff.
Watch out for people faking folds, by the way. Did you see how that happened? That's to Slime.
Oh, yeah. With Phil Hellmuth and Slime. Yes, yeah.
Yes, so you got to be careful. These people are like, twitching around their cards, making you think that they're doing stuff, and they'll just do that and be all like, oh, what me? What'd I do?
And dude, there's so many mind games in this thing. I've been watching a lot of videos, and of course, watching poker videos, you got to watch the Phil Hellmuth compilation of him like standing up, storming off the table, and after playing like some of the like pocket jacks and going all in on pocket jacks. But no, I definitely have seen some of the mind games that these people go for, and in Melee we love mind games or like reads and different things you can have on your opponent. But it's so scummy in poker sometimes compared to Melee. I mean, I love learning about the game, but oh my god, is it scummy sometimes.
So poker is basically Jigglypuff planking the ledge, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but if you lose, you're losing like $15,000.
Normally, $15,000 is not on the line at a Melee event, typically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, that's some, but it's not even that. Like, ledge, Jigglypuff does not refresh invincibility on the ledge well, and so you got to be able to call her out for that, because she is not as good on the ledge as some people think. I mean, I also play Young Link, so I can throw stuff at her, and she can't hit me, and I can hit her, so I may be a bit privileged out of my mind with this statement. But I'm not even talking about that, because that's just a solid game plan to make your opponent tired and to wear them out and to make them make a bad decision. It's like the equivalent of pulling out your opponent's controller cord while they're not looking and they're wondering what's going on, or looking or what HBox used to do, where he would look at people's DI before he up throwed them with Puff, so he would know if he could get the up throw rest or not. That kind of stuff, more so than just like a solid game plan that, though maybe not as fun to watch, I can see why people can respect it. So I won't throw the Jigglypuff planking off the rails here.
I'm someone who says I feel like there should be a tournament, maybe just one every year, and it doesn't even have to be a major. It can be like a regional, where wobbling is legal, or pokey floats is legal, or we just maybe have items on at one of these tournaments. I'm just saying, I'd love the idea of having a little bit of variety every once in a while. So you won't catch me complaining about Jigglypuff planking on the ledge. With IBDW versus Hungrybox this past weekend at Gommel, I'm watching it and I'm going, Hungrybox is maybe making it making some people upset watching this stream, but I know right now he has a much better chance of winning because IBDW is the type of player, at least for the time being, who's going to get frustrated by stuff like that. And when IBDW called for the ledge, like, you know, how many cliffhangers, how many ledge grabs, I knew it was like, it was bothering him. Even if he didn't want it to, it was very much bothering him for that specific set. And there's a lot on the line when it's winter semis at Gommel. So I do understand. I'm not trying to say that Cody was not playing or being mindful of the out of the game mind games super well. He was advocating for himself, which is great. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in top 8 this weekend, but you better believe that I will be watching Aero's bracket very closely. So good luck to you. And main stage, of course. I feel bad that you weren't able to go to the one last year. Let's just assume you had plans. So let's talk now a little bit. You don't have to get into it super much if you don't want to, but we also have this thing in common where we're both married. I've been married to Jen, my lovely wife Jen, for 5.5 years. I was gonna say 6 because I want to stretch it a little bit, just stretch it a bit, but no, it's not until November. But you know, it's cool, it's super cool. So I'm just interested in hearing if it's a nugget of wisdom or how you like to make Melee work while also being married at the same time, because it is a balance. It's a balance of priorities and how you spend your time.
Yeah. First of all, congratulations on the 5.5 years. So sick, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My wife and I have only been together for just over a year at this point. I'm only 23, so I'm very young. And she heard me talking about her. She's coming through the door right now. What's it called? We got married on May 23rd of 2021. Got the date right. Let's get. Thank you. Hello. And that's so funny. What timing? We're talking about Melee timing right when we start talking about the marriage thing.
Yes.
But oh my god, I totally lost my train of thought. But as far as balancing with Melee, it definitely is a balance, because I mean, you're married to your best friend, you love spending time with them, and you go do your own thing for a little bit, but then you also love coming together and it's super fun. But at the same time, you're playing Melee with these kids that have no responsibilities in life, and they're playing for 12, 16 hours a day. And that used to be me for like Pokemon and Minecraft back in high school and everything. But
you got those badges fair and square, Aero. You were putting in the time. You were putting in the work.
Exactly. And so I put in the back then. But you're facing up against some of these people that don't have responsibilities besides like school and things, where you in the moment, like when I was in high school, I was like, man, how could it get harder than senior year of high school? Yeah. And then you get to college and you're like, or you don't go to college and you just go to a job, but I went to college and I'm in my senior year of college. I'm like, man, how can it get harder than college? And thankfully it's a lot easier to, in my opinion, working and going into college at the same time was a lot harder than just working for me, thankfully. So I had more time. So thankfully I was able to balance things a bit better. That actually something about my play is I say I started in 2017, but I actually took a 2-year break from 2019 until 2021, and that's why I missed the last main stage too, because I just wasn't playing at that point again. Because I was working. I was a manager at Petco full time. And being a manager at Petco full-time is not 40 hours a week. It is 12-hour shifts. It is staying late. It is not getting paid overtime sometimes because there was some scuff math on certain things.
That is very unfortunate.
Yeah, that's why I left Petco. I love the people that I worked with there. I do not like the company that much, but it still is somehow better than PetSmart. But that's a whole other side of me. I'm a big animal guy because I also got my biology degree. And so doing a biology degree with working overtime at Petco just did not leave room for Melee anymore, especially planning a wedding senior year as well.
Married right out of college. I respect it.
Literally 2 weeks after. We were definitely getting the degree. It was 2 weeks afterwards, so that was a very stressful time. But looking back on it, I'm on the other side. I'm on the other side of the mountain now, and it was totally worth it looking back on it. It was good timing for us. Not to say that everyone here should do the same plan, because everyone's plan is different. Everyone has what's best for them. But as far as us, it just made the most sense and was what we wanted. And so it's been great. It's been great in that area. But it has been easier to balance Melee at all, let alone any sort of playing with my 2-year break afterwards. And getting married led to me playing Melee more because I had time again.
What advice would you give me, even though you're the one who's been married for a shorter amount of time? I don't discount that because you're in a stage of it that I don't say I miss in the sense that I wish I could go back and that's all I focus on. But I think I remember that time very fondly, and there might have been something, an aspect of it that I used to consider and then forgot. So I'm just curious, what advice would you give to me in terms of having a married relationship?
Wait, sorry, like a married relationship in general, or is with Melee? Like what exactly are you asking here?
Yeah. What advice would you have for marriage, specifically to me or to people in general? Because I'm switching. I'm sorry. Let me think of the word that I want to use. I am subverting your expectations. You see, most people say it's Cypher's job to give Aero advice about marriage because Cypher's been married for 5+ years and Aero's only been married 1 year. But I'm flipping it on its head and I'm saying, no, let's have Aero give Cypher marriage advice, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Okay, I understand now. I understand. I like it because I mean, honestly, I play Melee kind of how I live life, which I always try to think that I can learn anything from anyone. So even if I am stalking almost JV5ing a Sheik or a Falcon or a Falco on the old unranked system, like there's still something to be learned from that. And just the same, I mean, we're Melee players. We always other people think it's dumb or cheesy, but this is just how we work. If we're going to talk about marriage, I'm going to make an analogy even then. Because that's just how we think, because we're constantly thinking of so many different things. But and I think the same thing with life. Like if you've been married for less of a time, I appreciate the humility that comes with that too, to know I can learn from that person still. So I just wanted to say I appreciate the subversion there. But and of course I have so much I could learn from you as well, because you are also a father, which is a whole other story as well. That is
a whole thing. Yes.
If marriage already makes getting good at Melee harder, being a father is like 10 times more than that. I'm sure. Not that I know yet or in the planned near future.
Yeah. No worries about that. You're good.
But anyways, sorry, that was a big. I'm a big context guy, and I sometimes talk too much.
I love
about context
too. That's why I do podcasts. I have plenty of time. No need for big Twitter takes because I don't have enough characters to express how I feel contextually.
Exactly. No, it is hard sometimes. But getting back to the marriage question, advice, just general advice. I think this is going to sound funny at first, and my wife is also listening in on this, I'm sure, through the door, through the wall, so I got to be real careful here. No, I'm just kidding. I think you just got to make sure that you guys are on. So, oh man, how do I want to phrase this? I think being on the same page about your basic things is good, but be okay to disagree as well, because you guys don't have to literally think the exact same thing on every single question. I mean, if it's basic things that we should all believe, like basic human rights and a lot of things in the US that you would think most people believe but don't believe for some reason, then those things you want to be on the same page of. But if it's like little opinions about things that don't matter as much, then be very flexible, be very willing to be the first one to apologize in an argument that may not matter as much as you think it did in the moment. Just I guess the main point is be very, very flexible and full of humility, very humble, trying to not be be too proud about anything, because there are many moments that will come up where you want to compare, like, oh, I did more dishes this day, so you should do this, and you're not, and it's making me mad. Or it's just like stupid little things like that don't matter. Like, there are going to be so many small things that come up, and if you're the first one to apologize, then that opens the door, and it's just so much easier. If it's things that actually matter, like I don't know, you had a family member that you were close with pass away and they weren't comforting you at all during that, then that's a different story. But if it's something that just doesn't matter, just let it go, man, and move on and figure out what you can learn from it. But I guess that's one point. And another point that my wife and I are learning definitely is the importance of dating when you're married as well still. Because a lot of times you guys will, or we as well got married and we're like, oh my gosh, because she lived with her parents before and I lived with a group of guys in college, and wonderful guys, and I love my in-laws, but it just is a different scenario when when you're in different houses with different people versus when you're just the two of yourselves. And so you're living together and you're like, oh my gosh, we're so much more time we spend together now than when we were dating. When you come home from work, I'm already here, or when I come home from work, you're already here. And so it's really easy to spend time together, but it becomes really easy to not spend very good time together, if that makes sense.
Yes, like, there's quality time. There's quality time.
Exactly. There's quality versus quantity time. And we went through a period where we were spending a lot of quantity time together, but we were slacking on the quality time. And so we started going on more dates. There's anyone in SoCal, if you've been to the Anaheim Packing before, it's this really cool spot that I really like to go. It has all these restaurants and local places, farm to table kind of place that's all in this like old railroad car train station kind of thing. And so we'll go there, or we'll go to the park, and we're just like spending this intentional time together that is much more meaniful. Your memories of it are going to be much better than watching the 17th episode of Naruto. There are definitely some very fun things to do. So and you don't even have to spend money. If you're in tight times that everyone goes through, then go to the park and make your own food that you bought at the grocery store and bring it to the park and go walk around, and that's free, and you're going to eat the food anyways. So it doesn't have to be money, but just make sure that you're being very intentional with your time, because it's easy to let that slip by, especially as time goes on. It becomes easy to let it slip your mind there.
I love that. I really appreciate the advice, Aero, because that's something that has come up for us before as well, where we realize we need to have more intentional and quality time together, where we actually feel like we're connecting with each other. Because in a modern world, with the amount of work that I do, I have to work a lot Monday through Thursday. I rack up 40 hours pretty easily. And then when I'm home, I can be a little overwhelmed with all the things that I'm responsible for at work. And then podcasting, I can feel the need to disconnect from a lot of things, including disconnecting from her and the kids. But if I fight that instinct, if I lean into family time, I find that's actually where I get a lot more rest and restoration, as compared to the rest and restoration that I thought I would get by scrolling on Twitter for a half an hour on the bathroom seat, the toilet seat, excuse me. It's that's not so much of a thing as you might think it is. It's really just vegging, and you realize, oh, I burned 30 minutes. Now that doesn't mean that it was worthless. You could find some very funny things and go, ha, ha, or smile and just go, retweet. But that still is not as good of a time as you'll find as spending it with loved ones. And if for you and I specifically with our wives, or for me with the wife plus the kids, then that's what you should probably focus on a little bit. Something that I will pass on to you is, then this may not be a thing for you guys, but something that we've gone through, Jen and I, in the past year and a half or so, is we're starting to realize that, for Jen especially, that we're far enough along with how we trust each other and how we interact with each other, how we work as a team, how we do everything together, that there's been trust building, and then you start to realize there are things from my life that maybe perhaps have been hung up for a while, that have been something that's always there, either as something that's a stressor or something bothering me. And now I'm starting to feel like I can start to talk about those sort of things, and you're uncovering things together that you might feel like, for me, because I'm the one who does that a little bit less, Jen is the one who does it a little bit more, perfectly fine. I might be tempted to say, okay, well, why are we going backwards when I feel like we should be going forwards? Or Jen, who might say, why is Jesse always concentrating on looking ahead on things, or trying to be quote unquote in the moment and ignore any negativity, that kind of thing. But all that to say is, it's just a deeper form of connection, and trying to give your partner that space to be able to work through things, because you're the safe space, right? And you want to focus on being able to provide that, because there's a lot of people who are either indifferent to you. Of course, most of the people in the world are indifferent to you as a person, because hardly anybody in the 7 billion people or whatever know who you are, so they'll be indifferent. And then there might even be people who dislike you, but who's the person who's always on your side or has your corner? It's your partner. So that would be something that I'll encourage you with, that it doesn't end when you get used to living with each other. There are more things to discover. There's always more marriage to be had, in the same way that there's always more Melee to be played. The meta will always evolve.
And there it is.
There it is. You knew I was going to do it.
There's the analogy. No, and you're exactly right with that, because it's very easy. Oh my God, I'm gonna do it again. Compare them again. It's very, very easy in your relationship to see or have certain things happen. You're like, I thought we were done with this, or I thought this wasn't a feeling anymore for me or for her or them, or either way. Or it's like, I thought we weren't doing this, or I thought we were doing this, but then we have lacked on this. But it's not a linear path. I mean, it's life is too complicated to ever be a linear path with almost anything, let alone something as complicated as a relationship with someone. And so it's I love how you say it's not going backwards, and it's not maybe necessarily going forwards either. It's just something that's happening that you have to address, and it could have come back up from the past, or it could be a new thing, but it's so good to go through that. And I love how you said that. No, I appreciate that advice a ton, because that's very helpful, and I'm sure will only be more helpful as time goes on here.
But here's to long successful, if you will. It can be successful in a lot of different ways, but you get it. Good luck to you and your lady, Aero, and I will also say good luck to you with Double Down. Before we get you going here, we want to definitely make sure that you feel the space to be able to do all of your plugs and shout outs and stuff. But did you have anything for yourself that you wanted to make sure that we got to as a topic, or are you ready to do the red carpet section where we do shout outs and plugs and stuff?
For sure. No, I appreciate that a ton. Thank you. And best of luck to you and your family as well. I think the only last thing I was going to say on the last point is relating this back to our common theme again, of Melee being the reason why we're both here right now. And among other reasons, but Melee is the connecting force. Is
yes.
Well, because not only did I realize relationship things through when you were talking, but I realized yesterday when I was playing in TMT, and I was talking about earlier how I recognized these execution things I was missing and these mistakes I was making that weren't things I did in the past. And I literally said on stream multiple times, like, man, how did I get worse? Like, this is day one Young Link play that I'm doing. I'm full hop daring my opponent without any sort of open up and just hoping it hits. I'm like missing combos. Not dash dancing, and I'm just like doing stationary bomb pulls, like all these things where I'm like, man, it feels like, because I started playing Melee again in December of 2021, and it was like, man, I feel like I made no progress in between that time. I feel like in the 8 months since I've been back, there's been no progress, and that's just so untrue. That's such a trap to get yourself in. If you're making mistakes that you used to, then that's probably because you haven't maintained. Like working out, you have to maintain your muscles. You can't just get muscles once and then hope that they'll just stick around for the rest of your life. Like, you have to constantly upkeep these things, or young Link, his marriage basically. I love it, too true. But you got to upkeep these things, and you have to keep it going. And so even though yesterday I was really down on myself because I felt like I made no progress, I have made tons of progress. It just wasn't my day, and I wasn't practicing, so of course I'm gonna be worse than I was. But I know that you encouraged me in multiple ways there, both in relationships and melee. So I just wanted to share that first. If you guys feel like you're messing up anything you used to in the past, whether it be in melee, professionally, relationships, whatever, if you feel like something's going on that used to not be an issue in the past that you thought you fixed, then maybe there's a little maintenance that needs to be done there, that you have to constantly upkeep it, maybe just a little bit per day, but a little bit nonetheless. So I love that, Jesse. Thanks for sharing that.
So let's go ahead and make sure that we get to shout outs and plugs. Please, by all means, tell the people where they can find you, do the shout outs, all that fun stuff.
Well, everyone who ever looks at a shill on many of the Discords knows that I shy down from a good shilling, so I would absolutely love to. So the Twitter is already on the screen right there. It is at Aero SSBM, but the Twitch, this is very tricky. The Twitch is Aero, AERO, with an underscore in between the Aero and the SSBM. So it's still Aero SSBM, but don't forget that underscore in there. And that's basically the only thing. Join the Discord as well. If you go on my channel, the Aero _SSBM, and do !Discord. Join the Quiver. It is free to join, no sub necessary. We just love building community here and being able to just improve together and talk with each other and just building a little community there. And it's been great for not only the community, but also if you guys want a little bit of spiciness, want a little bit of competition in your life, we have Aero's Arena every Thursday. We are on our 9th iteration tomorrow. It is at every Thursday of every week, unless otherwise noted. But every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 7 p.m. Western or Pacific Daylight Time, we have brackets for East Coast and West Coast respectively. So I know for some people it conflicts with Salt Mine, but most people are doing Salt Mine anyway. So join East Coast if you want to at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time if you want to join Aero's Arena for East Coast. And then West Coast, I also do join myself. I commentate both. I listen to commentary while I'm playing on West Coast, and then I play personally at West Coast. So if you want a chance to fight a young Link who actually knows a little bit more than most people do about young Link, then come join West Coast or East Coast if you just want some good old competition there. But I think other than the Twitter, the Twitch, and Aero's Arena, that's all I want to plug here.
And don't forget to check out the description of the podcast to find all of the links that we're talking about. I don't think I'll be able to procure a Well, no, I'm lying. I will procure a Discord invite link.
I can send it to you.
You will find it in the description of this podcast episode, whatever you're doing with listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Spotify, you can listen and or watch on Spotify. Those of you who did not know, now you know. But you could do that, and you can be part of the Discord. You can also go to the Twitch, follow the Twitch, sub to the Twitch. Hey, Aero's not going to turn down a sub.
Hey, any primers, any gifters in the chat?
Primers, gifters, not on this stream, but for the Aero _ SSBM stream, definitely use the primes. I know some of the people out there probably have a prime ready to drop, and then you can be part of Aero's Arena on Thursdays every week. So
yep, it's entry fee is only a sub. It is just a sub tourney. You can be gifted, primed, tier 1, whatever you want to do. It's only a sub. $40 prize pool split between East Coast and West Coast. So $20 for each coast is about the best I can do right now, but keep growing and getting better there.
Yeah, a little bit of something, just a little bit. It really helps to add a little bit of that energy that you want to have. Of course, competition, super cool. But money just changes the context just enough. You're not dropping ridiculous amount of dollars where people are starting to get into fights in your Discord about connection issues and whatnot. So maybe you don't want to grow it to like massive amounts of dollars where you go, oh no. I'm making so much money, and now everybody hates me because I keep DQing people because of connection issues.
What's your buffer bloat grade? Like,
No, not the buffer bloat.
Not the buffer bloat. I'm only an A-.
But you can check all that out in the description of the podcast episode. This will air out sometime next week. For the live viewers, I want to give shout outs. Catch Tom. We have Almighty Spartan. We have Aero SSBM. Who's that person?
Myself.
We have Zuger Games. I want to say, let me just go back up and make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yes, Zuber Games. And Missgun_FGC. Thank you so much for participating in chat. And for me, we're going to play the outro. And for those of you who are going to be going off into the distance, enjoy the rest of your day / morning / evening / whatever. But for the rest of us on stream, hang around. We'll do thumbnails and maybe have another anecdote or two to drop, and then we'll get going here. But let's do the outro right now.